Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope we're all doing very, very well. Now, in a previous video, only a couple of days ago, I mentioned that I got a couple of vintage horror comedies, both starring the great Bob Hope and the eternally irresistible Paulette Goddard, a great comedy duo who should really have gone on to do a hell of a lot more together, but they didn't. But these two movies, The Cat and the Canary and The Ghostbreakers, are unparalleled classics of the genre, the fledgling horror comedy. They bridge the gap between the old theatrical stage plays of both of these stories and then early movie versions, and then obviously the later movie versions, which some were a bit more serious, some were a bit more jokey, but they've stood the test of time. They've gone on. And out of all the iterations of both The Cat and the Canary and The Ghostbreakers, The Cat and the Canary from 1939 and The Ghostbreakers from 1940, these I still think are the definitive versions, and they are so much fun. Now, I said when I showed you the Blu-ray from UK label Eureka, who do fabulous restorations on these old vintage movies, and slap a few extras on there like commentary tracks and radio plays and little introductions and documentaries. Wonderful stuff. Now, I hadn't seen either film for, well, it's got to be a lot longer than I probably thought, because I know both movies really, really well, but watching them again the other night, I watched them both together, back to back, in a fabulous, creepy double bill, and it was like watching them completely afresh, and I really enjoyed every single second of them. And I said in that previous video that, you know, I'll probably review these if I feel like it. Well, I feel like it. And I'm going to devote this video to The Cat and the Canary from 1939, directed by Elliot Nugent, and another video will be on The Ghostbreakers, which will come later on. But before I proceed, I watched both of these movies with my son, he's not yet 22. He'll be 22 in about, God, what is it now? Note to self, please remember your children's birthdays. I only remember the wife's birthday because it's on the same day as mine. The same day as mine. You can't have anything to yourself, can you? But yeah, I think he's 22 in about 2 months' time. Now, he's a massive movie addict, same as myself, obviously. And I refuse to make that mistake of preaching to a new generation that, you know, you don't understand the power of these vintage classics and, you know, their influence on every other thing that's come afterwards. Like, these are horror comedies, and you had horror comedies on the stage, and both of these movies had their audacious beginnings on the stage. They're both plays, murder mysteries in the old dark house set on a stage. And then they made their transition to silent movies, then talkies, then these two versions, and then got made ever after as well. And coined or created this whole thing of the old dark house, and people gathered together, getting picked off one by one. Yeah, it's Cluedo, yeah, it's Agatha Christie, but they had their precedent with this old dark house murder mystery horror stories. But the advent of a bit of a comedy angle to it as well only made them more accessible, especially in an age where the H certificate for horror had come out and the new code in America had come out. Obviously, with wartime looming, the Second World War, and having gone through the horrors of the First World War, things were changing. So horror movies were now a bit too powerful and a bit too like, oh, it's a bit too disturbing. We've got to try and give some classification to these. But these, even though they're comedies, they're very frightening and they're full of mystery, menace, and nefarious deeds. Now, I thought my son would just go, oh, what? I said, you know, do you mind if we watch these? You haven't got to watch them. But at the moment, he's taken over the big screen for various reasons. And so I'm trying to muscle my way back into my own movie room. And I went, I'm watching these. And he went, okay, can I watch them with you? If you want to. thoroughly thinking, erroneously, that he'll bug out within minutes. As the old creepy titles come on, and it's black and white, and it's 4.3 as well. He's not going to like this at all. He's stuck with the Cat and the Canary. Both me and him laughed at the right moments, and he said to me, "That's a great shot, that. Look at that." He said, "Look at the camera work there." And I was going, I knew it was good, great camera work, but wow, yeah, it is, isn't it? And I was really enjoying and embracing the fact that he, in turn, was enjoying and embracing these older movies. Now, he's seen all the Universal movies, these aren't Universal, these are Paramount Pictures, but he's seen all the Frankensteins and Draculas and Wolfman, and Creature of the Black Lagoon. He's seen all those, and he acknowledges, that they're because they're big, they're bigger, they're more obvious, more overt within the entire sort of genre itself. These are the titans. These are the big creatures that spawned a genre. So he acknowledges that. But this, there's nothing titanic and iconic about this apart from the mood, the atmosphere, and the setting. But he got it. So we watched Cat and the Canary, and he thoroughly enjoyed that. And it was now late, and I went, right, okay, we'll watch the next one, like maybe tomorrow. And he went, look, do you want to watch it now? And I was like, just pass me the whiskey, and yes, let's dive into the Ghost Breakers. And we did, and he thoroughly enjoyed that as well. In fact, I think on the night of this double bill, we both enjoyed the Ghost Breakers more. But I'm going to review the Cat and the Canary right now. And in the prelim to doing this video, obviously I was collecting my thoughts. I don't write notes, as you guys know. And I was thinking all the great things about it, and how much power it has over the genre. And I thought, you know what? It's hard to say which one's better. They're both brilliant. And so anyway, without further ado, The Cat and the Canary from 1939, directed by Elliot Nugent, and starring Bob Hope and Paulette Goddard. Wow. Now, The Cat and the Canary, before we go any further, this might turn out to be a lengthy video, it might not. Because what I'm not going to do this time around is go scene by scene, plot point by plot point, as I normally do in the big in-depth reviews. Because I don't want to do that, because if you guys haven't seen this film, or any version of it, or you haven't seen any version of it for a long time, like I hadn't, then I don't want to ruin everything, because we'll talk about bits and bobs of it. We'll go into the minutiae of certain scenes, but I'm not going to just unveil the entire film and give you all dialogue as well and exactly what happens at any specific time. I'm not going to do that. We're just going to explore the movie in a fun fashion, and I'll do that with Ghost Breakers as well. But The Cat and Canary, based on a play by John, hang on a second, what's his name? John Willard. They're not my notes, by the way. That's from the Eureka Blu-ray. It's just a cast listing, because I don't know all the cast off by heart. I do not, sorry. But John Willard wrote this. So it was on the stage for many years. Then it was a silent movie. Then an early talkie movie. And then it was this movie. Now, the basic premise is that an old eccentric millionaire has passed away and left a will. So all the disparate members of the family will congregate to this isolated location and be stuck there. Of course, that's massively important. And the lawyer will be there to read the will. And the heiress will be declared. But in so doing, it's going to incur the wrath of murderous siblings and rivalry from cousins. Some skullduggery and murders will take place. But thrown into the mix is this. Throughout the events of the evening, a copper arrives and will say, look, there is an escaped inmate from the asylum just down road, just down road there. He's called the Cat. All the things he does, with his claws and all that, and put the fear of God into these people. But the Cat will make several appearances and will do some nefarious things. before they're finally uncovered, and the whole plot is properly revealed. Now, there's various, although that template has been set in stone throughout all the iterations of this story, some variations have taken place, obviously. Now, from the original stage play and the original versions, Elliot Nugent's version, which is written, adapted by Walter DeLeon and Lynn Starling, they moved the location from like upstate New York or Rhode Island in an isolated mansion, but on terra firma, to the less firm foundations of the southern bayou. Yeah, so you've got some southern gothic going on, which adds an entirely new frisson to the whole endeavour. And the sets are fantastic. The art direction is wonderful. For a film which is predominantly inside a big rambling old mansion, there are so many rooms, there are so many camera angles and shadows and staircases, a creepy basement, a loose stair. You've got outside in the vine encrusted gardens and all the overhanging cypress trees, you've got a fountain and a pool which is just completely encrusted with overgrowth. You've got an old outhouse, and almost like an old cottage, which is sort of throwback to the original James Whale Frankenstein of the windmill. The interior reminded me of that so much. But you've got panels that move behind people's backs. You've got secret doorways. You've got a labyrinth of secret passages. All this is going on. You've got paintings on the wall where the eyes will be removed and real eyes will suddenly look in and peer around at the lovely, absolutely delectable heroine of the piece, Paulette Goddard, playing, I've forgotten her name, Joyce Norman. Yeah, the millionaire was, I think, Cecil Norman, an eccentric bastard in this dilapidated southern mansion right out in the swamps. So he calls all these disparate members of the family together. Well, he's dead, but the lawyer, played by the great George Zucco, which, is he Danny's father from Greece? Danny Zucco! George Zucco was in many Hammer, Universal and other RKO and Paramount horror pictures of these periods. He's British, he's actually British. And Bob Hope, by the way, is British. He was born in London, but then went to America. But yeah, a lot of Brits. Boris Karloff, British, went to America. Stan Laurel, not a horror icon, but Stan Laurel, British, went to America. You know, one day I'm going to get my ass to America properly and stay there and make my fortune. And with that in mind, I'll soak another dream with whiskey. So they all end up there, and you've got Lawyer Crosby, which is George Zucco, and he will do the reading of the will, and oh God, I forget her name, Joyce, which is Paulette Goddard, will be named as the heiress. Right, so they're all like, oh wow, they're all made up. And you've got the twittering couple of the shrewish like auntie, and you've got, I think, the cousin Cicely. In various versions prior to this, they sleep together in the same room, and lots of the stage show would have them in bed together. Nothing like that though until the 70s. The 70s version that came out actually had these two as being, I'm not sure if there was a big family connection or whether one was like just brought her partner with it, but you had these two sort of fledgling lesbian sort of attitude going on there, which is clearly an offshoot of how these characters were developed. But so you've got these two, and you've got Bob Hope, who's Wally, and you've got oh God, let's get these names. You've got Fred Blythe, played by John Beale, and you've got Charlie Wilder, played by the great Douglas Montgomery, who in certain shots of this looks like Errol Flynn, I'll be honest. Very chiseled, and his hair swept back and all that. And he's a good looking guy. Now, they will be read this will And suddenly, yeah, well, it's Joyce who's the heiress. Aha! But there's a couple of conditions. There's the Norman family curse of insanity. If she can last 30 days without going insane, then fine, it's all yours. But there's also another condition. Should she not last, there's another envelope. Inside this envelope is the name of the second heir to the empire. And so they're like, well, who's in that? I can't read it unless anything happens in the next 30 days to Joyce. This will be secret. So lawyer Crosby keeps that. And as John Beale, who plays Fred Blythe, says like, but that's an open invitation to murder, which is a great line, because of course it is. You've now set up this scenario where any one of us could be named in that envelope there. So all we've got to do is kill Joyce, and it could be us next in line. So, skullduggery, noises, mysteries, and this creeping, lurking madman known as the Cat is on the loose. You've also got Miss Lou, played by, oh no, hang on, Gail Sondergaard. I knew the surname, I just couldn't remember her first name. But Gail Sondergaard plays the ever faithful sort of matronly-like housemaid who ran the place, and she's all dressed in black, and she's very austere and very sinister, and she carries a black cat with her all the time. And she is the epitome of what Mel Brooks would bring to the fore in Young Frankenstein with Frau Blucher, you know, and every time you say Blucher, the horses outside, and lightning and thunder would strike and cause chaos. She's that kind of sinister figure. But all of these people have reasons to, you know, stake a claim on the inheritance. Everyone's a suspect. Everyone could be doing stuff. You can't trust anybody. It's wonderful. So you're in the land of absolute pure Agatha Christie style. Who done it? Why done it? Where done it? And where's the body gone? It was there a minute ago. Where's it gone now? Secret compartments, secret passageways, red herrings aplenty. Oh, it's rife with red herrings. Red herrings and black cats. The black cat itself will become a red herring on many occasions. The humour obviously comes from Bob Hope, who's a cowardly, you know, sort of wastrel, who doesn't even really want the fortune. He doesn't care. But he does find himself falling for Paulette Goddard and Joyce, but as do the other two blokes there as well. And in many ways, it was Jonathan Rigby who provides a commentary for this movie on Blu-ray, and he's fantastic. You know, part actor, but mostly writer, historian of movies, and an erudite, wonderfully articulate guy. And he does say in his commentary that this kind of parodies Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula. You have a lawyer Crosby, George Zucco, arriving to an isolated place at the start to just arrange financial details. Think Jonathan Harker going to Castle Dracula, and then not being allowed to leave. There's different reasons in both movies, but he can't leave either. Mainly because the guy that brought him there won't come back till the next day. And George Regas is the sort of, he's meant to be a Native American, I think, who sort of paddles the lawyer down, you know, through the swamps, you know, and you've got all like gators with their jaws are taped shut, by the way, but most of them, but they're all there. Sadly, that guy died about 18 months after making it, and he has got a great face. You want to see more of this guy, but once he delivers the lawyer to the place, that's it. He's gone. And but it's a great. I think maybe when you first saw the movie, you might have had suspicions as to, is he the cat really? But anyway, you don't see him again. But so like Jonathan Harker arriving at Castle Dracula, lawyer Crosby arrives at this southern Gothic mansion in the middle of the swamps. He can't leave. You have a woman who has got 3 potential suitors who are after her. Now, in Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, of course, it's Lucy Westenra. And she's got, Dr. Seward, Quincy P. Morris, and the other guy. I forgot his name. Doesn't matter. But in this, you've obviously got Wally, Bob Hope. You've got, what's his name? Douglas Montgomery as Charlie. And you've got John Beale as Fred Blythe. So, and Fred and Charlie will be at loggerheads a couple of times. And it works. But because he's the patsy, he's the idiot, he's the coward, but he's the joker of the piece, Bob Hope's Wally is fantastic. And by the way, there is a line. It's not quite, "Where's Wally?" But it's like, has anyone seen Wally? Where's he gone now? And me and my son were going, "Where's Wally?" And it was just genius. It's just so well done. It's so prescient and presumptive and predictive of what would come. But it's just joyous to behold. The comedy comes courtesy of Bob Hope, of course. His timing, his line delivery is excellent. And he breaks the wall, almost. The fourth wall, the meta wall. Because he worked so extensively in radio beforehand, where obviously you are addressing, your audience. You're talking about things, you're talking to people. You might be reenacting things, but you're also doing this sort of like, not cocking the eye, not winking the eye, but cocking the ear towards your audio audience. So in movies, he tried to bring that as well. All his on-the-road movies with Bing Crosby, the Bob Hope especially would always sort of like have one eye on the camera looking at you. Like, yeah, we're in this hokey old story, but hey, it's fun, isn't it? With his little wonky nose. And he does it in this, but not to any degree where it takes you out the movie because he's going like, haha, it's a quaint old tale, isn't it? Gee, folks. It's none of that. He will say things which are clearly clued into how the audience at the time felt. And he'll address that. So you'll have moments about, in both this and the Ghostbreakers, there are two political comments. In this one, you have someone saying, what? You mean coming back from the dead? Is that possible? And he'll say like the Republicans. And a political statement, hardly hysterical, but at the time, that would have been like, oh, could you say that? Oh, yes, you can say that. In the Ghostbreakers, there's a very similar line where someone's describing zombies as being mindless, shambling, fools, just at their master's bidding. And he says, like, you mean like the Democrats? You see, this is why he was a successful actor. He could get his words out. I'm stuttering and stammering. It's not easy, folks. It's not easy. They have cuts and takes in it. Take 2, take 3, take 4, whatever. Have a drink of water. But in my case, I've got to just plod along. No editing, folks. So when I fuck things up, I fuck them up and just stampede over myself. But he's great. Bob Hope has such a class personality and a great way to bring the audience in. So he's our looking glass. We're looking through his eyes because he's the guy that's in every little scene. He'll fall down the stairs. He'll get clubbed on the back of the head. He will discover things and not know what to do. He'll carry a gun and think he's brave, but there's no fucking bullets in the gun. And he doesn't realise until afterwards. And he's like, I wouldn't have survived. I couldn't have shot. These are films of their time where, hang on a second. Let's see if I can find it. Oh God. I did have an old style automatic, which is what they have in these movies. In fact, in this movie, it's a 6-shooter. But they hold the guns like that. I know, this is not exactly what they have. They hold the guns like that. It's very emblematic of movies from the 20s, 30s, and early 40s. People that hold guns close to their chest like that. And it's because of the framing of the camera work. That's how it was. If you wanted a bad guy in the same shot, they're not shooting widescreen. Of course, in reality, you're going to hold the gun out. Of course you are. That's how it works. Sorry, I don't mean to be putting that in your face, but there you go. So there's a lot of scenes of them holding guns like this. Anyway. But it's great. You have loads of stuff of hands coming out of little panels will move behind people. Paulette Goddard will discover, well, she and Wally will discover in this old stone fountain, if you turn this dial a couple of ways, you know, nothing's happening. And he's turning it and then going the other way, and they're both looking away, and suddenly a big stone goes and opens up, and you find this little sort of parchment case, and inside is this huge diamond necklace. So she takes that, and then in it, both films seem to have a scene where she will be undressed. And, you know, for the time, it's kind of risky a little bit. And there's a bit of a voyeur aspect to her getting undressed in this movie, The Cat and the Canary, because Hendrix is the shotgun wielding copper that's come to warn them about the cat being on the loose. But don't worry, I'll be patrolling the ground, so you'll be all right. Yeah, okay. I said before, you can't trust anybody. And he's outside with a shotgun, and he sees her getting undressed, and he does stand and look for a bit, like, and then she pulls the shutters across, but then she goes to bed. Incredibly, she gets undressed and puts something on, which is even more sexy and decorative, but still, you know, it's still a gown with lots of ornamentation on it as well, and then gets into bed to read a book, peruse. Oh no, turn the lights out, and then it's one of those movies, like most movies, they turn the on-screen lamp off, and it goes slightly darker, but the lights around the set have to come on so you can still see the people, you know, on screen. And she puts the necklace under the pillow, and of course, like you've seen again, the eyes in the paintings, you know, sort of have a look, and then this panel moves across, and a big cat-like taloned hand will come out, and it'll go over her head like that, and she'll wake up, scream, run away, and then chaos ensues. Now, you have in The Cat and the Canary one of the greatest shock scenes. It's in every version. And I'm not, well, yeah, this is going to be spoiling things, but you don't know who you can trust. But I will say this, that Lawyer Crosby, George Zuko, is not a bad guy. No, he's not. And there is a scene in a library or the study where Joyce is sitting there, and she's sort of she's in the foreground, he's behind her at all the bookcases, and he's there, and it's wonderful. The sets are very high. If you look at this movie, in fact in both movies, the doors that are like 20 foot tall, they're like, what the hell? It's like watching Suspiria. The doors are just like, they're meant for like little people. Is that the impression you're trying to give? Doors in America aren't that big. I've been to America. Doors aren't that big. But these are built for like people who are 12 feet tall. Anyway, so the sets are actually stretched, and this study/library set is wonderful. All the books, and they're all kind of off kilter. They kind of look like they're painted on, but they're not, because you do see that when the camera moves in closer, they are real books. And I say this because in our pub around the corner of the Cask, they have a wall which has just wallpaper on it and a big fireplace. But in the two recesses, the wallpaper there is like a library of off-kilter books. Some are stacked up horizontally, some are like leaning against them, and some are stacked up nice and tight. Old tomes, and it's just wallpaper. But, you know, obviously, if you've been imbibing of a few bevies, I've seen people do this. They kind of look around at it, they're sitting there, and they go, and they read some of the time, and they reach out. It's just completely flat. But the depth perception will throw you. Now, in this movie, I was thinking, like, hang on, some of that's got to be fake. But no, it's not. It's just the way it's filmed, and because it's such a stratospheric height, it kind of, again, it plays with your conceptions and the physicality of, you know, this, you know, setting. But she's sitting there in an armchair, and he's behind her, and he's about to tell her a very important secret. But behind him, one of the panels of the books goes, comes in like that, and a hand, not too dissimilar from that, will come out. And as she's listening, she can't see what's happening. Suddenly, and he's dragged through. He delivers a fabulous silent scream. It's like, and it's like, oh God, this is in every version. And he's gone. So for a long time, he's gone. But then, because of this whole thing with the hand coming out above Paulette Goddard when she's lying in bed, and then she escapes, she's, oh, the hand was there, and blah, 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 blah. And like, you've got the aunt and Cicely going, hang on a minute, maybe she's going mad with all this fear and suspicion. She's going mad. And of course, if she goes mad, then she has to relinquish, the inheritance, and one of them will get it. So she's like, I'm not mad. This happened. So Bob Hope's going like, he's doing all this knocking on the panels. This one's hollow. Slides it back, and he finds like a rope. And as he's doing that, that panel behind in the bookcase opens up, and the body of the lawyer is standing there, dead. And he just goes. George Zuko does it brilliantly. His arms are down straight, and he falls towards the camera. Obviously lands on a mattress, something soft. In previous versions, I think it's John Tully, or hang on a minute, I've got the guy's name here. Tully Marshall, in one of the earlier versions, he comes out the cabinet like that, this secret closet. But as he falls, he's meant to be dead, puts his hands up like that to land. But in this movie, George Zuko just falls forward like that, with a slight turn of the head. But you could say gravity's done that. But when you see him lying on the floor, his arms are outstretched, and you go, you've done it so well to that point. And surely, you could just have him lying there with his arms. Why did he do it like that? They undid their own great effect by having him with his arms outstretched. But it is what it is, and it's still very effective. So you've got all this skullduggery and these secret passageways and things going on. You've had the comedy there. You've had Wally, Bob Hope, is making inroads and forming a partnership with Joyce, Paulette Goddard. But these other two guys are also making moves, but they're not getting anywhere really. She's interested in him. This whole thing will culminate in a huge finale where she will be lured into the secret passages. The cat will be there, and the big reveal will be there as to who the cat really is, and the person he was working with will also be revealed to be, a miscreant, who will then get stabbed in the back in quite a violent scene for its time. Got to remember, it's a horror comedy. Murder, mystery, whodunit, old dark house. All those categories, all rolled into one. Although it's funny and it's meant to be sort of for families, when you view it now for families, apparently it used to get shown in the UK at a very sort of child-friendly sort of time, and yet you have got people being stabbed in the back, being throttled, being hit on the back of the head with a pistol, and then this finale, Paulette Goddard will be chased through all these labyrinthine corridors, which are really wonderfully well done, and great flowing camera work, loads of shadows, elaborately set dressed, beautiful. It looks like Sam Raimi looked at this and then created the basement of the cabin in The Evil Dead. But this is even more extreme, to be honest with you. There's so much more levels to it, and corridors and hallways. And then she'll find her way out through an old crypt, and then she'll get into this old cottage I mentioned earlier, which is wonderful. And she'll get in and she'll bar the way. But the cat is wearing a mask. Masks. I've always got masks around here. And the mask is weird. It's very plastic. And in some shots, it looks like it's Charles Bronson. In other shots, it looks like some kind of Tibetan hitman. It's a very strange looking thing. But very effective. And she'll get into there, and he'll start kicking the door down. And when he finally gets in, and this comedy's gone now, folks. Comedy's completely gone. And yet the balance is still right, because you've earned this explosively exciting finale, and the heroine is at the murderous clutches of the killer. And he's got this knife which he's already used to kill someone else, which we've seen. And it's like a flick knife, but it flicks over so slowly that it actually looks more satanic. It doesn't go like that. Ah, I got you now. It just goes, and you got time to watch that wicked blade come round. And she's like, and Paulette Goddard has such a wonderful face. She is not the big, buxom, pouty-lipped, usual beauty, girl in distress, damsel in distress, or femme fatale. She has a great sassy intelligence to her performances, and her eyes, her face are just exquisite, perfectly made out of porcelain. You know, she's so beautiful, and her eyebrows are we joke about the scouse brow, which we have obviously in Liverpool, and the girl just pencil on their eyebrows and try to make something really wicked and arch out of them. She didn't need to do that. Her eyebrows are just so beautifully quizzical, expressive. They form huge arches like that, or just a huge sort of curve, and she's fabulously beautiful to look at. And it sounds dead pervy, and it is, I suppose, but I could watch these films back to back forever and ever just to look at her and admire. Yeah, that does sound pervy. Note to self, Kilt-Man, keep your fantasies inside here when you're doing your videos. Incidentally, at the time of this and the Ghostbreakers, she was married to none other than Charlie Chaplin. Yes, married to Charlie Chaplin. And he'd pick her up from the set as well after the shooting each day. And she would also go on to marry Burgess Meredith. Yeah, Mick, from the Rocky movies. Mick, you gotta cut me. Go, cut me. Burgess Meredith. And then she went on to marry some, I think, Italian, Mexican, Portuguese, Swiss artist. She died in Switzerland anyway, but she is fantastic, and a great charismatic personality. She's not just the damsel in distress. She isn't just there to scream and be, menaced and then be saved. She's great. She's a fully three-dimensional character. And when you think about the time period, 1939 and then obviously 1940 for the Ghostbreakers, that was kind of setting a precedent. You were having other leading ladies who were proper shining lights in their own right, but given the right guy to act opposite. But mostly women in these pictures were still, just basically eye candy and monster fodder. That's all they were. To be adored and then saved and then adored all the more, because they should be more thankful that you saved them. But she has got this pure depth to her, and an irascible sort of real forward-thinking, advanced sort of progressive lady savagery, and I love it about it. Love it. Now this big finale, Bob Hope will arrive there, try and save the day, and he'll get pinned to a wall with that knife. I'm the guy that said I'm not going to give all the spoilers, but the big reveal will take place. And again, if you know these movies, you know this style of movie, the big Scooby-Doo unmasking, which is what you get here. And of course, Scooby-Doo took their ideas from all of these movies. There's always a nefarious plot. The monster might not really be a monster, but they may look like one throughout most of it. They're wearing costumes and disguises. It's exactly that sort of thing. And the unmasking is brilliant. And it's revealed that whoever the killer is, who I'm not saying right now, is genuinely fucking insane. And the reveal here is very similar, I thought, to when Mrs. Bates, at the end of Psycho, is revealed to be none other than her son, Norman Bates. And it's got that kind of crazy, off-kilter, manic face and lighting. And you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. It is severe. And it will be ended by a shotgun blast. No arrest. No. Blown away. It's great. Folks, The Cat and the Canary from 1939 with Bob Hope and Paulette Goddard is outstandingly good entertainment. It hits everything you want from a horror comedy. We are not talking American Man from London. You know, we're not talking the spoofs that would come later. It has all of its menace and mystery is all in place and all works and is taken seriously. The comedy elements are all courtesy of Bob Hope, who, very in character, will deliver a flippant remark, a retort, a pithy one-liner, a quip. But it's to lighten his mood because he's fucking terrified. And it works. It works a treat. And it helps you, the audience. It just allows you in. It gives you access to this story. You're there as well. But the lighting, the direction, it's impeccable. You've got these great scenes and a great spiral wooden staircase as well. This mansion house is fabulous. For a film, I think I was trying to say before, for a film that is very sort of theatrical, because you could, this is exactly what, you know, the old dark house sort of format is. It could be done on stage with just a couple of sets, maybe lights go out, change the set around, move the curtains across, or in some cases a revolving set, so you have like a different room just to move things around a bit. But the same people are on there, and you're not really going outside, you're not really doing much, you're not venturing upstairs or downstairs, it's just in one or two locations. Now, but in a movie like this, where you've got the basement, you've got the labyrinthine warren of secret passageways, you've got attics, you've got the outside, you've got all this, and a big central hall with a big spiral staircase, and you see it going up and up and up, and you've got lots of people running from room to room, bedroom to bedroom, checking on things, and as people do that, another bedroom door will open, and you'll see a pair of eyes looking out. It's fabulous, and it's a great moment where Bob Hope and Paulette Goddard, and I'm not sure who, there's another guy there, it might be the lawyer actually, confront Miss Lou, what's her name again? Forgot her name again. Gail Sondergaard. How can you forget a name like that? Gail Sondergaard is on the stairs at the beginning of this huge circular spiral staircase, and she's got the cat in her arms, and they confront her about something, and the lights go out, but you can see though the other three, but you can't see Miss Lou. And then when the lights finally come back on and the camera hasn't moved, she's gone, but the cat's just there, and it's just like, where did she go? How did that happen? I watched that scene again afterwards, and to try and see if in the shadows you can see her moving away, and I didn't, to be honest. So did that pretty well. But it's great. It has all these elements, and it moves at a fast clip, and you've got all these references like to Dracula, to Southern Gothic, to the inspiration of Agatha Christie and the, you know, 10 Little Indians and the old dark house sort of thing. All of it works. It all comes together in a surprisingly violent and very serious finale, and yet that doesn't change the tone at all. It's wonderful. It's just genuinely wonderful. And okay, you've got the finale, you know, and the kiss at the end, and reporters are all there and all this sort of stuff. You've got all that kind of thing taking place, which is kind of like the old epithet, the old epilogue. You know, just gee, everything's okay now, or is it? You know, because you've got like there's a little. Hang on, really? Oh, let's keep that quiet. You know, but we've got 3 reporters sitting in front of us. It's wonderful stuff. It's written so well. It's acted so well. It's produced impeccably. And it has that real chemistry and the alchemy of making the horror genuinely frightening and the humour genuinely funny. And yet neither getting in the way or destroying anything. It's wonderful. So folks, I massively, heartily recommend The Cat and the Canary from 1939 with Bob Hope and Paulette Goddard, directed by Elliot Nugent. Elliot Nugent would go on to direct this couple again. As I said before, they made The Ghostbreakers afterwards, but that was George Marshall who directed that. But they only re-teamed a final time, and it wasn't a horror comedy, it was just an out-and-out comedy called Nothing But the Truth, which I think came about a year after The Ghostbreakers. But they were a winning couple, and he's funny, she's gorgeous, but the two have great banter and work well together. And this is a film of murder, of mystery, of big reveals, of nastiness and craziness. Wealthy but want to be wealthier bastards from a really dysfunctional family all out to kill each other. It's got it all. Folks, had a ball with the cat, the canary. And this transfer is wonderful, and only a slight element of print damage on it. Commentary track by Jonathan Rigby and sadly Kevin Lyons, who is not as good as he'd like to be. But it's well worth it, folks. It's sitting right there. I did show it the other day. And on the same disc, you've got the Ghost Breakers, which I'm going to cover in another video, because that's worthy of its own time to discuss, because that's got its own elements as well. That brings in a lot more things. And that is a very distinct 3-act play. But, let's not go into that right now. So in the meantime, and this ever like secret panel moving and eyes coming into paintings and looking and scrutinizing, and strange hands coming out and getting you at the back of the neck, and skullduggery in the swamps in between time. Please keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic, and I am going to see you all. So who's the canary in this then? Is she the canary? You got the cat. The canary. The canary is the and it's full of red herrings. Cats, canaries, red herrings. And Bob Hope. Laters.